Hi, good morning. Well, it's good afternoon, everybody, where we are at this morning in New Zealand. So we want to welcome everybody today. I think we've already got some attendees in. I'm sure there's some more people that's going to pop in. We will be recording the session as well. Yeah, definitely join us. So today we are tackling the F word in the classrooms. So we're going to move along and I'm going to start sharing my screen. And we've got a very, very special guest that is joining us as well today, Mitzi. But we will get to Mitzi in one moment. So why does failure get a bad rap? Often failure, we see it in this traditional schooling where failure is tied to shame. You hear that you're not good enough. That mindset really sticks. So culturally, we associated success with perfection and the fear of messiness. You don't try hard enough, or, we don't say to them, try again. So students are really conditioned to avoid risk, but learning is taking that risk. So with me today, we have got Mitzi from Humphrey Schools. She's got 32 years in education, 15 of those are in tech. We believe, she believes really strongly learning never stops. And we were actually having a giggle the other day, even at our age, we're still learning every day. And we really, she encourages that mutual problem solving with students. And I love her quote. She said, if I go 2 days without learning, I retire. But no, she's still here. So Mitzi, I am going to ask you to open up. I think you are on it. And joining me as well. Let me just double.
Okay, what was the question you asked? Sorry, here I am. Hello, I'm Mitzi. I'm from Humphrey, Nebraska. The failure, that has been a big part of my push in the past probably 3 years. I've just been really, I had taken some classes and somebody else mentioned the failure part, and I realized we have not pushed failure enough. And these kids today they're constantly asking, is this right? Is this right? Is this right? But they're not learning to be failures, but the failure is something that is lifting them up to learn more. And that's really what I'm trying to promote right now is failure, but not just failure. If you don't fail, you'll never get anywhere. So keep trying and fail, because when you fail, you learn. So that's just kind of what I've been working on with my kids, and we talk about failing all the time, and I talk to them as as young as kindergartners, and we talk about failing, and it's okay to fail, because when you fail, you learn.
And I think it is that failure that is often tied to shame. Or kids don't want to stand up and say, "Hey, I've made a mistake." They just, So, what experiences have you got of that?
And I've seen a lot of kids where they say that their parents don't want them to fail either. And so this is something that I try and have conversations with, and sending messages home with parents saying, the kids need to fail. Your children need to fail, because when they fail, they're learning. And we don't want it to be, something that is shameful. And so we laugh about it in our classes. We laugh and we giggle and and I've actually, and I've done this for more years than I can care to admit. I play the game of Mrs. Luedtke's wrong, and I show them that it's okay. And I try and do wrong things, so they're catching me doing wrong. And if they catch me being wrong and can actually fix it, it's something that, they get rewarded for. So, we kind of try and do some reversals too. Let's play the game, do something wrong so I can catch you doing it wrong. And the look on their face when they try and do something wrong, I love that, because I know that they have actually learned something and they're trying really hard not to do it correct. And it's like, that's when I know they've got it. That's what I love. So yeah, just being wrong is okay. Um, I can't stress it enough. And with robots, and that's what I love about these. And honestly, when I saw the KaiBots and having that little inchworm bug, It's like that is something that is wonderful because it shows them, and it's a visual, not just a robot that says, it won't go and we don't know why. It's telling you that there's a bug and you get to fix it. So the beauty is you get to fix it.
That's awesome. We are going to look at that a little bit later. That's definitely, I love that. But like we need to use failure as that feedback tool. Mistakes are data. That tells us what's working and what's not working. It's a bit like a GPS in your car. You're sort of driving, and then somewhere you're going to turn left, and all of a sudden it goes recalculating. It's like, what? Where do I turn? Where do I turn? And it's even, the best computer, they make mistakes. You see these rockets go up in the air and they have some big, beautiful fireworks as well. There's some mistakes that's happened, but that is data. Some is very expensive mistakes that you do, but that's okay. That's how we learn, and according to John Hattie's research, feedback ranks as one of the most effective influences on students' achievements. So I always, and I would love to get your feedback, is how we test our students. Some students work really well under exams. Some students work very well with, with assignments and things like that. What is your take?
As when I was in college, I was not a great test taker. And I did a lot of studies. In fact, I did a lot of work trying to figure out how to best teach kids to take tests even. That was kind of one of my, years and years ago, that was one of my key, takeaways, that I wanted to make sure that kids were not, unready for a test. They were ready for a test. And that was kind of where my shifting was okay, we're trying to teach them how to take tests, but a lot of it was the verbal, what we interpret verbally. So for instance, looking at I like what Leslie said, how do we shift that mindset from failure? Sometimes we have to show that failure, that word, is not a bad word. So sometimes it's more of, us taking that time and that tool and saying, it's okay. I will be the first to admit, I have failed on so many things. I have crashed so many computers, but that's where I've learned. So that's where my background of failing is. I could have given up a long time ago, but every single time that I have failed, and then I've built on it and gone, oh, I can do a little bit more now. I have figured out a little bit more. I can do just a little bit more. And that's something that with my kids that, I'm getting old enough. I don't like getting down on the ground with them as much, but I like to get in as much as I can with the kids. And that's where, I play the game of, what does this do? Where are we going to go with this? Who knows what we're going to do? And sometimes I'll even take some small groups aside and show them one or two things so they can be the ones to be the champions to show other people. But then the kids, when they fail and they learn and they come and tell me, guess what happened? Beautiful. I love that you've tried this. So for me, I try not to ever say nothing, you're never wrong. But what I want to share is, let's make it right. Let's know that we did something that didn't work, but that's the word failure. So when we try and change the terms of it, let's call it what it is. It was a failure, but it was a great failure. So as teachers, we need to start changing that mindset in our kids as well.
Yeah, and isn't 21st century skills really embracing failure? Critical thinking, problem solving, all those things actually is, you learn from it, and how, the perseverance. Because I think one of the things that I've really noticed lately is when you, and it doesn't need to mean criticizing, but if you say something to a student and, like, well, you were sort of wrong there, they don't take that very well. They're like, what? What do you mean I'm wrong? And I think it is because of this whole mindset, and we really need to change that growth mindset and make sure that collaboration is, happening. And, failure is a PR problem. There's a quote from John Maxwell saying, if you're not failing, you're not learning. And that stigma of mistakes in education, it's the failure is, that stigma is really deeply rooted into our gradient systems and that achievement focused culture. Many students associate failure with a lack of intelligence or effort rather than actually seeing this as a necessary part of growth. Educators often feel pressure to show those results, make failure actually feel like something, that we're actually exploring. And when students are taught that mistakes are just steps in that learning journey, we see better engagement, better creativity, and self-regulation. And I think that's one of the things with KaiBot, where we actually say, okay, well, there was a bug in your code, but go and fix it. That's okay. There's so many different ways that you can code and, code robots and stuff, different answers. But what is the most effective way? So you may even be right in that code, but can we make it better? So I would love some chat there, and just tell us, what's one failure that sort of showed up in your classroom, and how did you sort of flip that script? How did you turn that into a learning tool or learning stage of where that student is? And this iceberg of success, I love this, where, you sort of often that iceberg, the tip of the iceberg above the water, you see the success, the grades, the awards, but below it, it's really, you can see the failures. Sorry, just.
And I will say that when I started my failure is okay kind of shift was probably 3 years ago. And I'm finally now seeing some of the reaps of my rewards. It's taken me a long time. That first year that I was really pushing failure is okay, I felt by the end of that year that I didn't feel like that my kids had really gotten it yet, and they weren't quite there. And I really, honestly, I thought about giving up because there were a couple of other programs that I was doing, and none of the kids were really grasping those programs. And I felt like we were just, we were in this rut and I couldn't figure it out. But I thought, okay, next year we're going to try this again. And we kind of did some of the same things, and all of a sudden it started clicking. So it was a matter of doing it over and over and over again. So by sharing with the kids, and I love what you said, because I had said this so many times, maybe don't even say it's wrong, because, yes, it could have been wrong, but how can we do it better? And I was playing with, and I'm probably getting ahead of everything, but I was playing with the market math the other night. And what I like to do is whenever I have something new, I'm taking it and I'm going, okay, how will my kids get this wrong? How can I get it wrong so I can see what they're going to, come up with when it's wrong? But I love the fact that when you're adding some numbers and you're adding 5 plus 3, for instance, well, can we do 3 plus 5? Sure. Can we do some other numbers? Well, if you've got specific numbers of, groups, yes. But in the grand scheme of things, 3 plus 5 can be so many different ways. And if we code it, the robots don't care if it's 3 plus 5 or 4 plus 4. The robots don't care as long as they get there. So that's where, whenever I'm doing different things to make sure that I'm seeing that the kids are getting this, I always say, is there another way to do this? How can we, you might have your cards, and you might have 10 different cards to get from one spot to the next. How can we shorten it? Instead of saying 3 plus 5, let's put 8 in there. Let's shorten it. Let's make it better. So again, failing is one of those things that, not everything is a failure, but there's always a better way as well.
Yeah, I mean, failing, that's just learning and progress. And I say, own that own that process.
Yeah.
So not just the product.
Yes.
So
And that's what it was.
yeah. So a tech fail turned us, it's a real breakthrough, like that whole thing is, I don't know, but let's figure it out. And what is even better is, let's figure it out together. I love it when you start having that conversation and you actually say, well, how would you do it better? Or how would you do it differently?
Yeah.
and that's why, I think it's when we have, and I love like debates, when you actually have put that problem, and I love what you're saying in the classroom, put a challenge out there and say, okay, well, there was maybe some failure there, but hey, let's discuss, how would you make it better? Or how can we make it better? So yeah, I really think that reflection and talking about it is so, so important.
And I think what I'm excited about is I'm going to give them some, some replications of what they can do, but I'm going to add bugs in there. I'm going to make them fail. I'm going to do that on purpose. I already know this. I'm excited about this. I cannot wait to put a bug in there. Well, what are we going to do? How can we figure this out together? That's going to be my biggest fun part of all of teaching this. Not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Challenges, and I love to see the challenges on the kids' face. But I'm really fortunate. I've been doing this for long enough time with these kids that my kids are very sad when they leave me after fourth grade, because we have so much fun doing our technology. And I beg the teachers, can I have just a little extra time? Can I have them at a recess where it's raining out? Can they just come and play? And we just have a lot of explore times. And sometimes I just want them to, explore and say, what can you figure out? So yeah.
No, absolutely, absolutely. So, when we look at, the future, we really, really need to have students, learn how to do that troubleshooting. Like the World Economic Forum, what they say, top skills actually equals problem solving and resilience. We need to be able to, by 2030, that's going to be the most important job that is out there, is for you to be able to problem solve, to show resilience, show creativity, critical thinking, collaboration, because, the robots are coming. They're not just coming, they're already there. But we will be able to, think, be creative, have the smarter prompts, and input it and work together with it, and not having that fear, because I really think through passive learning, um, we're not built for just being passive learners or having those perfect grades. They forge through struggle, experimentation, even like me in a business, I'm an entrepreneur, I failed many times, but it's when you get up the next morning and you find those little nuggets that actually, yes, I did it. I got it right. So I really think, in a world of automation and this rapid change, adaptability is much more important than memorizing anything. So we really have to get students to become those comfortable, navigating, learning from setbacks and trying again with new strategies. So really, teaching them to fail is preparing them to lead. I really love that too, bringing in that whole entrepreneurship, the innovation, leadership, mental well-being. That's so important, how we can reduce the fear of mistakes. So, how do you deal with the mental well-being in your classroom, Mitzi?
Oh, I will tell you that I feel like I have one class that I've actually failed with it, but it's not just me. I'm finding that there's a group of kids that I've got one group that my last year, my goal was to make sure that they could all work together cooperatively. And between the teacher and myself, we never got there. But I have 4 other classes that are working so well together. So I keep thinking, okay, we're going to get there. But it's a matter of I think it's a matter of this short-term gratification, and we need to show them that, being screen free is okay, because then they can actually take more time and do more things with their hands. And the class that I was failing in was such an instant gratification class. And this class, I had even brought in some robots one day, and I had one of my groups that were my top groups, and they had it all packed up and put away after 10 minutes, and they said, we're done. And I said, what? You're done? What? No, you can't be done. But they were bored with it already. They had not been given the challenges, and I had to restructure how I thought we needed to do challenges. So honestly, it's, talking about students adapting, teachers also need to adapt as well. We all need to adapt and try and figure out what are we going to do and how are we teaching these kids, and how do we need to reach them so that they can get to that point. So in all honesty, I've got a big challenge ahead of me with this class this next year. We are going to learn how to work together cooperatively, work together on failing, because this was the same class that didn't like to fail. So it's definitely an age thing, I think, but it's also it's a big challenge. I don't know that I have the exact answers, but boy, I'm up for the challenge. I'm ready to go. I cannot wait because my other classes have loved the challenges, have loved me taking videos of them and watching them and giving them the challenges of, can you make this robot drive to this spot? What are you going to do? And seeing them, with a group of them go, well, if I pick it up and move it here, it can go there. Well, sure, that's one way. Now, can we get it there any other way? So, giving them lots of different choices. So it's exciting, but it's nerve-wracking because I know I don't have all the answers, but every class is completely different. So teachers, we need to be ready for this. We need to be on top of this, and we need to find out what works, because what works with one is definitely not going to work with the next.
Yeah,
Yep.
and it's that engagement,
Yeah.
how do we keep them engaged? Exactly what you're saying. But I hear, when we started building this product, we sort of had two things in mind. The one is how can we get greater engagement? And that's sort of why we developed the product as well. But also for us is to reach every student. I think so often you forget about like the students is acting out a little bit, and what is it? So how can we actually engage that student to be able to really just participate? And I think this whole universal design learning framework, that I love the fact that we were okay. Well, we don't want to just put one student that is different. I work with, a whole bunch of really, neurodiverse people, and I absolutely love it. And Bruce, co-founder, we know, Bruce's ADHD, he's a geek and stuff, but that is what makes him special. But trust me, if I'm going to give him a tool and say, okay, you special, you go and play with that tool, that's not fair. He doesn't want to be treated special. He wants to join in the classroom. So I think it's really, really important that whatever resources, whatever tools the teachers are using, step in, do it with them. It is designed, our tools is designed for everybody. I had a teacher saying, well, I've never coded. I'm like, yes, you are the perfect candidate. Learn with the students. You don't have to be the person that knows everything. Learn with the students, because they are very smart students, and it's teachers that make them that smart, and you have to take recognition for it. And tap yourself on the back and say, yes, that student has become very successful. That student is following that career, and I was part of their journey. So why don't we jump across a little bit, and we actually going to look at old KaiBot and how it actually physically helps students, learn through their mistakes, give some real feedback, and we really try and build that confidence and that independent thinking as well. So why I am just going to minimize here, stop my screen. And we're going to cross over. Okay. So some of you might have already seen this or not seen this, but we've got two new products for kindergarten up to 2. This is my literacy mat. We've also got Marshy, who is also on a math adventure. I love old Grouchy Cat. And these can be screen free or on a screen. So this is a bit of math lessons that you're going to do. But I am going to show you the literacy one, because Why does coding only have to be taught in the computer science class? Please not. Let's do cross-curricular. Let's bring it into the literacy. Let's bring it into maths, into, you can be on Mars, you can do escape rooms. There is such a choice these days of what we can do. So we have got Marshy, our little KaiBot. He can have a little sleeve. You can actually go and cut out, paint your own. They're all in the lesson plans. And those lesson plans are all on our website, just the learn.kaiseducation.com. So how, you can see here, we've got all these little characters. We've got old sloth, old capybara, white tiger. But what we're going to just go very slowly, and I'm just going to do a screen-free test. And we're going to go from the start, and we're going to go to the counter. So our literacy kitchen is they go to any of these characters, and the character will say, I want a sandwich. And then you may go to the refrigerator, open the refrigerator, and there will be a tomato and some cheese and bread. And then it will ask you different questions. And that is what you do when you get to the online version. But what we're going to do right now is we're just going to do a screen-free, very simple challenge. We're going to drive to this counter. So we have our coding cards. I've got a whole box here, and we have a start and an end, and you will actually see the Braille. I think we've got Avery that's on the call as well, and hopefully Avery, they're going to give us some feedback from APH, American Printing House, on the Braille as well. So you can have your start and end, and I am going to come down here, right? And you're going to have a run program at the end. And we're just going to go very simple. We're going to go to the counter. So what does that mean? We're going to move forward 1, 2. So remember, this is kindergarten. So I can go forward, forward. And then I'm going to turn left. It doesn't mean turn left and drive. It's just a turn left. We're going to turn left. And I'm going to turn left. And then I'm going to go forward 1 card, right? So your code is going to look like that, but I'm going to show you there's an alternative as well, because it's all about learning. So all you do now, you take old Marshy, and you just tap the robot. It will tell you on the robot what card you've just scanned. It says left, forward, in my program, run it, 3, 2, 1. You put it down, and he is going to go forward 2. He is going to turn left. If he doesn't die on me, of course he dies on me. Isn't that
well, here's the problem. How can we solve the problem?
How can we solve the problem? Apart from throwing it out and think, oh, Ronel, you didn't charge this robot last night, did you? So my fault. See, teacher. Okay. Right, we just do this robot again. It's lit up. Okay. Forward 2, turn left, forward, and run my program. It's got a 3, 2, 1. And off we go. Turn left, and a turn left, and it's going to correct right. And it's got there. So that is really the very basics. And then what you would do, you have got these fabulous little cards, activity cards. So you may say, okay, that was the counter. Right there, I can see counter. So we have now driven to the counter. On the back, you now have activities for us, if it's a CVC or a spelling or a syllable. So hopefully everybody will know that this is a pig and not a leg or a big. How do we spell? That's a mixer. So they can learn that. And how many syllables? Bacon, 2 syllables. So we've got a whole bunch of cards. So it becomes like a tabletop card. So probably 4 students with 2 robots, 2 KaiBots, and then they can do the game, and they can now drive along and complete all the questions. So that is the screen-free lessons that you would get. Now what we're going to do, this is all the fun stuff. we are now going to add a device. So we've got our iPad, and this is Literacy Kitchen. These are all free apps. We don't collect any student data, so you don't have to worry about that. And we will get some progression so that a teacher can see where some of the students maybe get stuck on literacy or on math problems. But that is a teacher portal thing that we'll be able to see. Right, Literacy Kitchen. So what we do, it tells us, make sure your KaiBot, what is the number? It's 9D86, which is this one. And we're going to connect it. And now you'll see we've got different levels of what you can do. We're going to go and drive to, what are we going to drive to? I'm not going to go, and I am going to drive to the giraffe. We're going to play. There's a song, there's a karaoke song that we've made. So there's a lot of fun that the students can actually go and do. Just going to move this off. And you will see Marshy is actually driving all the way. Just trying to make sure. There's the giraffe. He's going to get there. There's audio.
What would you like to order?
So it's actually saying, what would you like to order?
I'll have the burger.
So there is sound on everything. It may not be as clear, but it says he wants a burger. And then he's going to drive back, and he is going to start putting the burger together. So it's a little bit of autonomous driving there. So it's really good having that conversation. There's old Capybara. And he goes.
Let's get cooking.
Let's get cooking. So he's going into the Marshy's meal shop. So to get that, he needs to go to the stove, the cutting board in the corner, and we're going to go to the stove. So I'm just going to move this up here. Oh, it's a bit of
Scanning some coding cards.
So the stove is right there on the other side. So it actually shows you what to do. So if I just move that. So you're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Scanning some coding cards.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to turn left and 2. Now what I can do, I'm going to turn left and 2. Right. So I'm going to go start my program. Now you'll see it comes in there on the side, the code. So I'm just tapping on the same one, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to turn left, and I'm going to go twice. End my program. And now if I put my robot down, he is on a mission to go to the stove. Now, what is really good with this, it shows the young students the path as well and what they need to do. So there's a whole program on here. Now you're going to get some questions. And this is where the failing, this is where the fun also starts. So it says, fill in the blanks to complete the sentence. Marshy is going to something, the something. Ooh, okay. Marshy is going to boil the patty. I wonder. Boil. Maybe we don't. Oh, okay. I can get this. Maybe cook.
Good job.
Ah, I like good job.
Is going to cook the patty.
So we get that reinforcement of the message. Oh, good flip, Marshy. So he gets some points, and he now has got a whole bunch of other jobs that he needs to go and do. He'll go to the cutting board, and there's more literacy and things that he does. So there's a lot of questions, a lot of wrong answers, multi-choice answers that they can do as well. But one of the other things that I just want to show, because I know we don't have all that time, is obviously you would have seen with these little numbers, you've got an asterisk, so you can put a number card down. So if I wanted to just move forward, say 3, I can replace my forward with 3. So it would look like forward 3, like that. So if I have, you all might have seen, we've got these magnetic tiles as well. So you can go and build all your mazes and puzzles and escape rooms. But for example, if I'm just going to do a really simple thing here, let me just disconnect old Marshy from here, change, whoops. Are you sure you want to leave the game? Yes. Okay, just going to put that aside. Because one of the other really cool things that I love about is, say we're just going to move forward 2 cards. And we may turn, just at the end, we're going to do a turn. Hey, maybe I want a bit of a happy card as well, because we do a little bit of happy, lonely, surprised, sad, crying. And we're going to now code that just to get to the end and turn left. So I can take, so it will tell you what it's doing. Start, turn 2, turn left, be happy. Say I forget my card. Ah, what's that? Bug alert. Oops, focus, focus, focus. Missing record end card. So if you do a loop and you don't have the right cards, or you're missing a number, or you don't have your start card, it will say missing. It doesn't tell you what or how or where to put it. You go and figure it out. So let's fix this, because I do want to see the happy dance.
And one thing I want to add to this, what I really love is, if there's a bug, you have to go to the beginning and redo, because that's what we do when we're fixing something. We go back to the beginning and we fix.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Love that.
I love it. Okay. So that's sort of a really quickly, I didn't want to make this lesson all about the robots and how do we code. You can always jump on another demo with us, no problem. I can see my team is on standby. But, I really wanted to come back to, we've got a couple more minutes, and I just want to come back to, because I think it is so important for us to really make sure that we encourage students to really come and, sorry, let me just go to the next slide, to be able to learn and to work together. And we've also got the product that's Kai's Clan, and there it's really about that collaboration and having students work together in a team, because there are so many things we can learn about teams, and that every student, and I'm sure every teacher, you learn so much about people's skills, what is the strengths of others, but also how to share your point of view. That communication, it's not just about, well, this is the right way to do it. If you sometimes just listen, and that's one of my big problems, just listen, because somebody else may actually have a better solution or a quicker way or just a different approach. And I think that is so important, that if we can reinforce communication and teamwork, we are going to build an amazing next generation. They're already amazing, but we do have to really support them. So with Kai's Clan, it's all about collaboration, where with KaiBot, we still teach those fundamentals. And then, how do we celebrate failure? I would love to hear a little bit more, like for me, it was, I saw a teacher, and she had sort of the best bug of the week award on her wall. and each student could go and put down a little thing. But Mitzi, what have you done? How do you celebrate the failure?
I wish I had a wall. I don't have my own classroom right now because we're out of space. So I have to drive around, but I love that idea. But the exit slips, I do something very similar where what I'm trying to do is, celebrate those, what did I fail at? What did I learn today? And so sometimes I'll even put the kids in a group and I will hand them something either brand new or hand them a challenge. And even if they don't get it, by the time we're done, I make sure we have enough time to do a little sharing. And I say, what did you learn? What did you figure out? And somebody else will say, oh, I never thought of that. And they get to share from groups going around. And I have some kids who, don't want to speak up and others that do, but they start sharing what they can do. And they're just excited to get back and try what somebody else learned and what somebody else learned. And so, I love that thought about the bug of the week. And honestly, we kind of have a bug theme going on here as well. So if I can find a spot, I'm going to be doing some kind of bug of the week and seeing if I can get something like that going too, because mine is usually the sounds that, my voice, that's all I can do because I can't leave stuff behind. But that's a great idea. And I like the exit slips as well.
Yeah, because I think, we have to get kids to celebrate their failure or their mistakes. And then, you can put next to it, like, I love this. I always go, nothing is impossible. We've got a thing in the office here. Like if somebody says, I've got a problem, I go, well, what's the solution? Don't give me a bunch of problems, just give me a bunch of solutions and let's try it. And that's what's life about, is just trying new things. So, the F word isn't failure, it's feedback. Talk about it. And I think if we can do that, we definitely, our students are gonna just, we have to give them those skills. We have to help build the confidence so they can take it back home as well. I think often, I come from a upbringing where I had an extremely strict father. He was a perfectionist, but I had him on a pedestal. He was everything because he was so successful, and that's who I wanted to be. And I think it was until I was probably about 25 that I realized, wow, he can actually make a mistake. Really? My dad make a mistake? And that was a massive thing for me. It really took me. And first, I rebelled against that. And then, I had a conversation with my mother, and my mom said, yeah, your dad has got, failures as well. And you need to learn from them. You look at that, and that's what you have to take forward. So I think we've all got a responsibility to, really help kids. And if we can do little things, like you can do it in every subject, but in your classroom, just by greeting a student in the morning and showing a smile, showing kindness, I think we've already done a really big thing for students.
There's one more thing that I'd like to add there, and that is, as a teacher, don't be afraid to tell your kids, I don't know. There's a lot of times that, teachers want the right answers all the time. I try and let my kids know when I don't know something, I don't mind finding out the answer. But don't be afraid to say, I don't know, or I don't know, can you help me find the answer? So, I find that, just being an honest teacher is going to be one of the greatest things you can do for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think with AI and, I know schools and districts are still figuring out which is the best platform and stuff, but, even just old ChatGPT that we use here at work, just try it. But don't just take the first answer. Oh my golly, have we had some funny ones, like, really? Like, what is the weather? Well, it's going to be sunny. Well, at the moment it's thunderstorms, and it's, you have to go and verify and make sure that at least, get some reliable resources and quotes and websites that can actually verify what you're saying. But it's going to make our world so much easier. And it's just another tool. It's just another tool that we're going to use. But before we finish, and I'm gonna end off with Mitzi giving a bit of an overview and sort of some of her things. But just the handouts. There is a handout. You can download the brochure. The PowerPoint is there. We will follow up, send it out as well with the recording. If you want to join me on LinkedIn, please do. I love having conversations there. Having a bit of a blog and stuff running. If you've got any questions, please join us on there. But Mitzi, what is your takeaway? What are you going to do today to make a difference?
I have been thinking about this. First of all, I'm going to say thank you to Jen Cousins for introducing this to me, because, guys, I have only had these KaiBots since May. And there is still a lot I don't know about it, and I cannot wait to fail with them. I am so excited, but I got so excited, and I think Jen saw this excitement in my eyes when I saw it at a convention, and I had to have it. I needed this. So I am just so excited. I'm thinking of all of these things that I can't wait to do, and there are so many. What I love about this KaiBot that I haven't seen with other robots is there is so much customization you could do with this. So for instance, even if you're doing the literacy kitchen, you could have one of the cards and you could put your own, like whatever word you're working with or whatever, you could almost create some new cards to go with what you want, because you're trying to teach those things. Exactly. It doesn't have to be what's here. It can be what you need to teach them. So if it's a reinforcement, if it's, something that you are just introducing, there are the possibilities with this are limitless. And that's what really excites me. I've been collecting robots for so long and trying different things with robots, and there's always something great with how we're doing this. But this one has really, and seriously, they're not paying me for this. I am just excited because this is hitting every checkbox that I need. So that's what makes me so excited about it. So I can't wait to fail. I played last night and I failed last night many times and just laughed and giggled. What else can I do? Because every time I failed, I learned something else new. So that's what I love. I'm a first failure. So I'm going to keep at it. I'm going to keep failing so I can keep learning.
Absolutely. I love that. And I'm going to take that away today. Yeah, let's fail more so we can move forward, because it is, it's one step backwards, but hey, that always comes with 2 steps forward.
Right. Exactly.
Well, Mitzi, I haven't seen any questions, but people can email us. I'm sure they can reach out to you, Mitzi, if anybody has got questions. We would love to hear from you. But otherwise, we want to say thank you so much for joining us. This was an absolute amazing time. Go and enjoy your robots. And I wish you many failures, Mitzi, because I know we're going to get better by doing that.
Exactly. And I can't wait to see everybody else's failures. And I can't wait to, I'd love to come back and do another share time and find out what everybody else is failing at. And I can't wait. We need to start some little Kai groups of teachers or something. That would be a lot of fun.
That sounds fantastic. So join the community, everybody. But from us here in New Zealand, enjoy the rest of your afternoon. And thank you so much. Thanks, Mitzi.
Thank you.